Hey, Louie, how long have you had this car?
Since the end of March.
Since the end of March, so March, April, May, June, July, so right about 5 months. Okay, now, is this car parked outside at all during the day?
During the day?
Yeah.
If she goes somewhere.
Okay. Okay. Most of the time it is parked inside. Okay. So it's parked inside. And that's important to know because now we kind of know if it's exposed to the air lot, and that's where you could get what we call above surface bonded contaminants. So. Larry, how's that coming out there?
Pretty good.
I see the dirt you're pulling off inside the fender wells there.
Yep, it's getting off the wheel.
Now, if a guy really wanted to go to town and get in there and really dress it out, the best way to do would be to jack up the car and pull the wheel and tire off. Then you could get in there and clean it well and then go ahead and dress it well. No, we're going to clay next. Let's go ahead and, you can finish that up, but we'll go ahead and clay, and then after we're done clay, and then we'll go ahead and start taping all this trim off. Have you worked on any of these yet, Jeff?
No, I haven't.
This is the first one for you? First one for me, too.
I just sprayed. I didn't buff.
Cleans really well.
Oh no, there's really a dead dry bug on there.
You got that dead bug off, huh?
Oh, I mean it just right off.
And that's kind of one of the things we like to do with these is showcase the products from different vendors. And again, tonight is chemical guys. So what Louis was saying is it had a very dried on bug down there baked onto the paint. You know, used the Eco Wash, got it all cleaned off, came off real easy. So keep that in mind if you're looking for a good spray, waterless wash. Yeah, someone had a question. Was that you, Forrest? No?
Sure.
Someone have a question here? Just came up to me. Brad? Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. So the next thing we want to do is we want to clay the paint. Now, when this car first arrived, I went ahead and wiped down a section of the paint, and I had Louis fill it. Do you remember that, Louis? How did it feel with your bare hand?
Not bad.
Didn't feel bad, did it? You've done this before, haven't you?
Yes.
Okay, now let's do the baggie test. So here's one for you. It'd be fun to get your wife down here and see what we do to her car, huh?
Yeah.
Okay,
You
so
don't need a little snack bag for this car.
yeah, and again, when I feel the paint, this feels pretty smooth. Now you put the baggie test on, how does that feel?
Wow.
Yeah, you can feel little bumps everywhere on the paint.
Pretty, really.
Yeah. So let's come up here. It's usually the horizontal surfaces. This is really bad up here. And it's going to be my guess that back here where all this wind circulates to the back is really going to be bad. Oh yeah, feel that. Has anybody here never done the baggie test? Have you done it for us? Okay, tell you what, first go up and let's feel the hood, okay, with your bare hand.
Of course, here.
No, hold on, I want him to fill with his bare hand. So, yeah, give him the bag. Okay, so now remember, this car is only 5 months old, it's parked inside the garage most of the time. Run your hand across there and feel that. Does that feel smooth and clean?
Yes.
Okay, now put your hand in the baggie, now feel it. You feel little bumps, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a sign it needs to be clean. Now feel the roof and then work your way to the back and tell me which area do you think is the worst?
Definitely the back.
Definitely the back. Okay, again, the type of aerodynamics this body saw has, the wind circulates around back there and all the contaminants fly back onto the car body and over time they embed onto the paint. And it's important to clay and remove the bonded contaminants because first of all, they're going to diminish gloss, okay? And the second of all, they're going to be in the way of any wax, paint cylinder coating that you want to apply because they're actually on the finish. You need to get them off before you put any kind of protection products onto the paint. Okay, so we got everything wiped down, all the wheels, fender wells inside. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's get set up for claying then. I got a garbage can up here if anybody has something they want to throw away. Dirty towel bin back there. Now, to do the claying step, we're going to be using what chemicals guys call their Luber clay lubricant. And for this, we're going to be using the Pinnacle Ultra Poly clay. Now, this is an ultra fine clay because this isn't really bad, so we don't need an aggressive clay. So I've got 2 bottles of clay lube here. Hey guys, let's move on to the claying step. And just real quickly, has anybody here never clayed before? Tim and Forrest, never clayed. Okay, so tell you what, I've already taken some of the clay and formed it into patties up here. But real quickly, I'm just going to show you the technique for doing this. When you first buy clay, usually it comes and it looks like a bar of soap. And a lot of times it'll be wrapped or in a plastic container to protect it and keep it from getting dirty until you need it. Okay, so I've already taken it and I've kneaded it into what looks like a small pancake. And here's the technique for using this that I show people. A lot of times when people go to clay, they'll put their fingers on the clay patty like that. And what happens is without thinking about it, you always put more pressure on your fingertips. You'll push a hole through the clay. You'll have to stop, re-knead the clay bar. That's not a big deal, but what I like to do is I like to decide when I'm going to re-knead the clay bar. And to help me do that, I put my fingertips past the clay patty. Now, without thinking about it, I put equal pressure over the face of my fingers, and I can clay till I decide it's time by looking at the clay to turn it over and re-knead it. Now, to use a clay patty like this, what you want to do is, again, put this over to the spray pattern, not the stream. Shake this really well. Anytime you're using a liquid that's been staying, shake it first. Then you want to take and spray some onto the paint. And just real quickly, hey guys, before you start, I've got some nitrile gloves over here, so we want to use gloves. A lot of times, my good friend Rennie Doyle, he's got a saying. He says, if there's a chemical on your skin, it's in you. So if it's on your skin, it's in you. So we just want to practice good safety down here at Autogeek. So glove up. Okay, then spray some of this clay lubricant on there, put some right onto the face of the clay, and then what you want to come down and do is you just want to get clay, and you want to move your hand fairly fast. It's not a slow movement, it's a fairly rapid movement like this. And as I started to clay, I could actually feel the clay dragging against the paint. And as I continued to move it over the finish and it started pulling the contaminants off, the clay actually started to glide effortlessly over the surface. It become very slick, and that's because the contaminants are now in the clay. They've been removed off the paint. So that's a sign I'm done with that section. Then I want to take a clean microfiber towel and just come back and, just like before, wipe that residue off. And leave a nice, clean, shiny finish. Okay, so now, can I get someone to come over here and do the baggy test again for me? Yeah, well, go ahead, Tim.
Whoa.
That's how it should feel, nice and smooth, huh?
Yeah, I feel a little over here.
That's because I did a quickie job because
you
we're
did the
live.
quickie, yeah.
But anyway, so tell you what, guys, let's go ahead and get a clay patty. Forrest and Tim, just use the technique I just showed you. It's a quick hand movement. Spray some onto the paint, a little bit onto the clay lube. Get your hand going fairly quick, a rapid movement. And let's get this car clayed so we can move on to the next step, which will be taping it off.
Hey, it almost matches the color of my car.
That's right.
Louis, give me some of that.
I'll wipe behind you.
You'll be our wiper? Okay.
Lou, how many horsepower? 101.
101 horsepower.
What's it weigh?
2,900.
No, not even that much. 23 to 25, somewhere around there. Oh, it zips.
Here you go. Do you need this? Okay.
It'll do over 120. Really? Yeah, the guy at the dealership told me. I've had it over.
You know the speed limit's like 65 though, right?
Not if you go two different ways.
Oh. Can anybody, can anybody name that scent?
It's like cinnamon, close to cinnamon, but
Yeah, it smells like
could be-
cinnamon.
It could be. I'm thinking because I'm a spice guru.
A spice guru, huh?
Well, I spent my life growing them.
Something right there.
In food.
Matalube.
No, cardamom.
Was that right?
It's in between cinnamon and cardamom.
Okay, now give that a wipe. Good eye. Who needs clay lube? You do? Okay. Let's go ahead and clay the glass too. A lot of times, if contaminants are on the paint, chances are really good they've also fallen and stuck to the windows. And so go ahead and clay the glass. Let's get it all smooth. We're going to be using a glass cleaner on this later on. So Forrest, your first time claying, not too hard, is it?
Not very hard.
Yeah, and when you get done, I want you to come up here and feel the difference, okay, so you can see what the benefit to it is.
The lubricant is present and not present.
Yeah, sometimes white cars can be a challenge to work on because of the light color. It can be hard to see residues like a wax or a compound or polish residue. And to help you with that, a lot of times it helps to, A, get down at different angles, or get a fresh set of eyes. Have, a friend, wife, neighbor come around and look to see if you've got all the residue wiped off. That's just one of the challenges of using, having a light colored car like this.
And that's just to keep the contaminants inside.
Yeah, and since we got this live, what he's doing now is he's clayed, and what he's doing is he's kneading the clay into itself, refolding it, exposing some fresh clay to continue working around the car. And anytime you're claying a car, you want to always be flipping that clay patty over and inspecting it. And as soon as you see an accumulation there, that's a sign to go ahead and re-knead and use that clay. And at some point, the clay will get so full of contaminants, it's time to pitch it, and then you need to get new clay. I think Louis got the front bumper.
Louis, did you get the front bumper? No.
Well, then I'm wrong.
All right, give me some spray.
Some clay lube?
You want to do that side? I'll do that side.
You got it. Hey guys, it's going to be important that we get any of this lube off the plastic trim, because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to tape it off. So.
Is this lube kind of like oil base or?
Oh no, it's water based completely. What it is though is it's a high lubricity formula that's going to enable the clay to glide over the surface. And then what happens is there's actually an abrasive in clay, and it works like sandpaper. So a lot of people think clay. That's a good question actually, Tim. Always leave it to the new guys to ask all the good questions.
Is that clay or is
yeah, it's not Play-Doh, and it's not like modeling clay. It's a polybutane clay. It's a man-made clay.
Okay.
But the way clay works, and that's a good question, let me just explain that real quickly. A lot of people think clay removes contaminants because the clay is sticky. And at some point it probably does pull some things off because it's sticky, but the way it actually works is it works like sandpaper. There's an abrasive in the clay, and it's not the type of abrasive that scratches the paint, but you put the lube on there so the clay patty will glide over the surface. As it's gliding, the abrasives in the clay abrade the contaminants. As it abrades them, because the clay is tacky, it pulls the contaminants onto the clay, and that's why you need to re-knead it. And of course, you could get different aggressiveness levels of clay. Usually, there's 4 primary categories. There's ultrafine, fine, medium, and aggressive. The aggressive clays are usually used by professional detailers or guys in body shops that are working with things like heavy overspray paint. For daily drivers like this, most people can get away just fine using an ultrafine, especially if they clay often, or a fine, or if it's really bad, then maybe jump down to a medium grit. Sure.
They want to know that the EcoWatch have parts of clay in their actual pump.
Is there what?
Parts of clay in here.
No, there's not parts of clay in there. You know, I just want to shake that emulsion until it has a uniform appearance. I'm going to guess as long as you're shaking it well, you're using it according to directions, it won't be a problem.
You guys do the roof?
Yeah. Remember, any plastic trim needs to be wiped down really good because, again, we got to tape this stuff off. Looks good, Rennie. How's the Camaro doing?
Doing well.
How was the car show last Saturday?
Same people,
Where'd you
same
go?
cars. Jensen Beach, Duffy's.
Oh,
car show.
Duffy's.
Yeah.
How many cars did they get over there?
Probably 150.
150?
I would.
Better than Gweeds?
Where?
Gweeds?
Guides is behind the Treasure Coast Mall on Tuesday nights. Yeah.
This time of year.
Well, he's going to, is that a Camaro specific show, or is it open?
Club goes,
Okay.
we just,
And what year is your Camaro?
2011.
It's sitting out there, isn't it?
Block? Big block?
There is no big block in.
I know, I'm just kidding with you.
Hey, does
I
your
got a 69 big block.
what's your 57 have?
350 ZZ4 motor.
Okay, well,
T10.
nothing wrong with that.
No,
No, that'll get up and move.
good.
Okay, tell you what, let's go ahead and finish up.
Yes.
No,
Not like this, 110 horsepower. What we want to do next is we're going to pop the hood. I'm going to show you a little technique to make covering up the wipers and this front plastic grill up here a little faster. Now, anytime you're machine polishing, and this is especially with a power tool where the pad is rotating, okay, so like a rotary buffer, after you start buffing for a while, your pad will start to get somewhat saturated with pad, at least to some level. And what will happen is it'll throw little splatter dots on anything around you, including yourself or the windshield. Now, on windshield, it's not too bad to wipe off, but if we come in here, Yancey, can you get these, or these holes have been drilled to let fresh air come in? If you get splatter down inside of here, chances are you're never going to get it out. So it's kind of unsightly. Same thing for the wipers. You know, when this thing is down against the windshield, the splatter is going to be hitting the sides of this thing. And again, you could come down and wipe it off, but let me show you a fast way just to cover the whole thing up, and then you don't got to worry about it. And you can use a beach towel. This is an Autogeek cover-up towel. And what's nice about this is it's microfiber. We can reuse it, so it's a green tool. And all we're going to do here is take that, and then we're going to pull this down in front and cover all that up. And this is the important thing, is you want to just make sure that you don't get the towel in a way that it's going to bind with the hinges. You don't want to bend anything, especially if you're working on a customer car. Okay, so cover that up, and then grab some tape. There you go, Rennie. Got some tape over there? Okay. And then just tape this up so it doesn't fall down. And this is just a big time saver. And again, you know, I consider Louis a friend. I don't want him ever being mad at me because he's got compound and polish splatter all over his wife's Fiat 500. There we go. So something just real simple, just like that. You don't have to get too complicated. Idea is just big picture, get that stuff covered up so you don't got to worry about it. Now let's close this real carefully.
Snap that in. Yes, sir.
Click. Okay. And then look, see how we covered this all up? Now we don't have to worry about it. Here's another little tip. Yeah, because your buffer pad could actually hit this and it'll have a tendency to yank it. A lot of times I'll even go to the extent, especially if I'm using a rotary buffer, just to come and put a strip of tape, hold that there, right here. And the reason why, and I actually got a how-to article on the forum that shows this, and here's why, is because if you've got a spinning pad on a rotary buffer or any kind of buffer and it hits that soft material there, it'll have a tendency to grab it and try to yank it out. You put a piece of tape on here, it'll just glide against it, usually won't mess with it. So it's just an extra step, but it will keep you from actually yanking that thing out of there, a couple pieces of tape like that. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to tape this off. I already got the guys starting over here, and I just wanted to share a little technique. A lot of guys, they find taping a car off takes a lot of time. And one thing you can do when you're taping off is, where's something I can tape off? Here, let me come up here to this strip here so Yancey can capture this. We're using the Meguiar's tape. They make 3 different widths. And what you want to do, and this is just a little technique, is we've got this strip of black plastic that runs all the way from the roof, front of the windshield to the back of the car, separates the A-pillar and this body panel here from the actual roof. And this isn't smooth plastic, it's actually got a texture to it. And that's like the worst kind, because if you get compound and polish residue embedded in here, it's almost impossible to get it off. And that's why it's so important to just go ahead and spend the time up front, tape this stuff off, and then you don't got to sit there and try to dig this out with a toothbrush or some kind of chemical cleaner later on that can actually dull this. Now, I'm using a tape that's a little bit thinner than the trim itself, so I'm going to have to go through here and do it twice. But here's the tip. Most of the time when I see guys taping stuff off, what they do is they've got their tape, they got their roll of tape, and they got it like this. And what you want to do is you want to pull this thing out, and that's going to enable you to bring this back and forth this way and flex it to match the curve of what you're trying to tape off. And it's a really tiny little tip, but it does help a lot. And a lot of times I like to bring that right up to the edge of the paint, okay, and just have a really nice seal there. And that way you don't got to worry about any compound or polish residue getting in there and getting onto that black plastic trim. Just like that. And then come up here and I put my fingernail down and just give it a brisk tear, and boom, I got one side done. I'm going to come back, same thing. Now, I can actually go to the windshield here because if you look, there's a gap here. We don't want to get compound polish residue there. So you don't have to be super neat. Start it here. And again, I'm just going to bring my tape up. Okay, so I've got about 2 feet here of free tape. And I'm just going to take and just firmly press that down and follow that plastic trim all the way down. And hey, for all my forum friends out there, especially my buddies over on the UK forum and the Romania forum and the Spanish forum that I post too, a lot of times I go up there and I post some of the classic cars I work on instead of the newer cars. And one of the guys up there asked me, hey Mike, how come you're always working on them old cars? Well, because those old cars don't have any plastic trim and I'm lazy. No plastic trim, no taping off. But hey, we're going to be bringing in some new cars here to the Autogeek Show Car Garage and just sharing some tips and techniques like this. So if you do have a new car, here's a tip or a technique to help you get that taped off so you don't get the compound residue on the plastic trim like this. Okay, hey guys, come on, let's get up here and get this taped off. My job is to show the technique. Okay, that's looking good though. Okay, so we don't really need to tape this off. This is okay. Now down here we got some black plastic grill up here, and we do want to cover this up. So then I don't mind getting down here and doing some of the hard work. I switched over to a little wider tape. And this is a honeycomb grill into it. And we're going to be doing a little bit of machine polishing up through here. So again, we don't want to throw any splatter in here because in order to get the splatter dots out of here, you pretty much have to take a Q-tip almost and just get in here and rub each one. And my gosh, that would take a long time. It's a lot faster just to tape this off. Another way to do this, by the way, and this is something I've done a lot of, is actually just cut a piece of newspaper that would fit that and then just tape the newspaper in there. Hey Jeff, what did you work on today? Oh, no cars to detail today. Yeah, that goes with being a dad though, you know. And that is, how old's your daughter?
6.
Oh, does she like cars?
You know, she has a infatuation with
Toyotas,
Toyotas.
huh? When my son was just a young lad, his favorite thing to do was to go play in the milk truck. I had a 1966 Chevy milk truck that was hot rodded that I used to. Oh yeah, no, there's pictures all over the internet. Just go up to Google and go up to Google Images and type in 1966 milk truck and you'll find them. But well, that's what I would. I had a route, so I called on body shops, detail shops, and dealerships, and I sold product out of it. And I got to tell you, if you pull up to a business and you're in a white Astro van, everybody runs to the back because they know you're a salesman. You pull up in a hot rodded milk truck, everybody comes out to the front to see what the truck's all about. Then you open up the barn doors and they see all the products and then you make a sale. So it's kind of a marketing tool too, but I also use it when I detail cars professionally so I could load up my buffer, all my pads, and I'd show up at a client's house with this 1966 Chevy hot rodded milk truck and again use it as a marketing tool because people would stop to check out the truck, find out I detail cars, and I'd pick up a new client. So I always got to think marketing if you're in the detail business.
I miss those milk trucks.
Now you're probably thinking of the Divco though.
Oh, from the 50s?
Yeah, the Divcos had the slope nose. This actually had a 66 Chevy front clip like a truck,
Right.
but it had a big fiberglass back end to keep the milk cold. It was a real milk truck. Yes, it was built up in Canada back in the 60s. And I bought it from a gentleman that had already put a 396 big block Chevy in it and a turbo 350, but I took the turbo 350 out and put a turbo 400 in it. And then, of course, when I got it, it was oxidized. So guess what I did, Tim? I buffed it out.
Yes.
I have a tendency to make things shiny. Okay, so we got that taped off. How are we looking back here, guys? Okay, that does look good. Now, in the real world, if you're by yourself and you're taping off a car, it'd probably take you something like this. It might take you 45 minutes to do a good job of taping it off. When I've got, what, 8 guys here helping me, it takes about 10 minutes. So It's a lot easier to do. Okay, so now that we got this thing completely taped off, guys, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the different types of tools and the techniques for using them. Now, just real quickly, and this is kind of key, if you've never done a machine polishing job to a car, every car is different. And so here's the first thing I do. I look at the car and I start figuring out how I'm going to slice this thing up or divide up these panels, because you can't, even though I'm a big strong guy, I can't sit here and buff out the entire hood because I can reach across the entire hood. I want to look at this and I want to break it up into smaller sections and then just tackle one section at a time. And kind of like we got a checkerboard floor here, buffing out a car is just a matter of dividing it up into sections, then buffing one section at a time. After you finish one section, move on to a new section and then overlap just a little bit into the previous section. And the reason for that is called UMR, Uniform Material Removal. Anytime you're working on a car that's swirled out and you're trying to remove the swirls, scratches, water spots, or oxidation, the abrading process, or what we call the correction step, is about machine polishing the paint a little bit. You're going to take a little bit of the paint off, and that's how you level it, and that visually shows up as a swirl-free finish. But if you've got swirls here, chances are however they were inflicted in the paint, they were inflicted the same way over the rest of the car. So what you want to do is what's called a test spot. And that's where you will dial in your product, your pad, and your process to one section. And if you can make one section look flawless, you know you can duplicate that over the rest of the car and you'll get the same results. And the only time that would be different is to say this car was wrecked and say this fender was repainted with a different paint than the factory paint. It might react a little bit differently to the products you're using on the factory paint, but that's usually not very common, so it's not a big concern. The most important thing though is to dial in a process that works and then duplicate that over the rest of the car. Another thing that I would usually do if I was detailing a car, and I have an article on this forum, is I would start with the roof and knock the roof out and then work my way down. And when I say knock out the roof, I mean I would do the roof the entire process. So if I'm going to compound it, I would compound it, polish it, get it all the way to the wax, get it done, and then move down. And the reason why is because I don't want to come up here and compound the roof, get the swirls out here, then come down here and compound the hood, get the swirls out here, then go back up here and polish the roof, and while I'm doing this, be throwing splatter back down on here on something I've already wiped off. Now I got to re-wipe it again before I polish it. So for that reason, usually on cars, especially classic cars, hot rods, things like that, I will knock out the entire roof first and then tackle the rest of the car doing each step at one time. There's another reason to knock out the roof on a car first if you're doing this for money, and here's what it is. What's that? Gravity. No, not gravity. It's marketing. And I've done this a lot of times in my life. Someone brings you a car. It's a special interest car. It looks pretty cool. It's really hacked up. It's got swirls. Maybe it's oxidized. If you knock out the entire roof, so you go from a messed up paint job to a show car finish, then you start working on the rest of the car. If anybody comes by and says, hey, what are you doing? You can go, well, here's how the paint started out, but here's how it's going to look. I've already done the roof. And they can see the dramatic before and after, and then they might do something like this. Can I get your business card? You know, because they can see the before and after. If you start out compounding this and then the sides, someone might come by and say, hey, what are you doing? I'm buffing out a car. There's no difference to see because you're in the middle of the entire process. So by just taking a little extra time knocking out the complete roof, so it's done, flawless show car finish, you got something to showcase every time somebody comes by and looks at what you're doing. Or say the owner pops in and says, hey, how's my car looking? Well, I don't know. This is how the entire car's going to look. How does that look? And they go, wow, that looks good. Then they leave and they got the confidence that they've hired the right detailer to work on their car. But that's why. Okay, so let's start up here. Let's kind of go through these machines real quick. Okay, for this first step, we're going to be using the V36 optical grade cut polish. Now this is a fine cut to an ultra fine cut polish, and I did a little testing with this on black paint just to see how it would react. It actually works really well. Now it's only for really fine or shallow scratches. On the marketing information it says it's good at 1,500 to 2,000 grit sanding marks. So if you were to wet sand a car, you could go down to as far as deep as 1,500 scratches and this would pull them out. But keep in mind that would probably be using a wool pad on rotary buffer. But for today, we're just going to be using foam pads, and all the swirls and scratches on this are very, very minor, so it's not going to take a long time to pull them out of this paint job. So first thing I want to do is, Forrest, you've never used the DA before in your life, right? Okay, so come on up here. This is going to be real fun. I think you'll like this. Now, this is the safest tool there is to use. It's also what I call the entry-level tool. It's the easiest tool to learn how to use and master. That's two things, okay? Becoming a master with this tool, you can actually tackle a lot of cars with a simple tool just like this. Now, a couple quick things. I've already taken the handle off, okay? Now, these come with the handle, but here's why I like to take these things off. They have what's called a stick handle. There's stick handles and hoop handles. And this has a stick handle. You can put it on either side, but here's what happens. If that handle's here, a person that's new to machine polishing, what you want to do is you want to put pressure down on the head of the tool here. If you've got a handle sticking out the side, you'll grab that handle and push down, and it causes you to buff crooked. And as soon as you put too much pressure on just one side of this pad, what happens is the pad tends to stop rotating. So what you want to do is you want to get equal pressure down over the entire face of this pad, and the easiest way to do that is to put direct pressure right there on the head of the tool with your hand. So I pull that handle off there and use it without the handle. A lot of times I'll put the correct bolt in here also to make sure the head doesn't fly off. Another thing about that is if you've got the handle on here, there's actually times when you could be buffing and you could be hitting something at the right angle and you will dig that handle into the paint. So for safety reasons, it's a good idea to lose the handle too. Now, some of the other tools, like the Griot's and the Meguiar's, they come with what's called a hoop handle or a D handle. And that handle will be coming up over the top of this unit. And here's the problem with that. The farther your hand gets away from the head of that tool, say the handle's up here and you're holding it. Here, tell you what, let me just show you real quick. See, I take them off, but I don't throw them away. Okay? If you had a hoop handle on a tool like this, the farther your hand is away from that tool, the more it's going to tax your forearm muscles. Not a big deal if you just do the hood, but if you got to buff out an entire car, by the end of the day, if you don't do this full time, you might find your muscles getting a little tiring. So I take the handle off. Now here's a couple things about this. The on-off is right here at the top, and it's in different places on the other tools. You just have to locate it. It's variable speed, so it starts out here at a 1, goes all the way up to a 6, and that's where the high power is. Now, a lot of people always say, well, what speed do you use to remove swirls? Almost always you're going to be on the highest setting. There are some pads and chemical lines out there that recommend a lower setting, like the microfiber systems, but for most people using a foam pad, you're going to be on the 6th setting. Okay, a couple things. Always put the cord over your shoulder, okay? And the first thing we want to do, since we've got a brand new clean dry pad here, why don't you hold this for a second? What we want to do is called priming the pad. Now you can do that with a liquid wetting agent, or you can just prime it with the product that you're going to use. I want to make sure there's no safety seal. There's not. Okay, so I'm going to shake this really well. I'm going to open this up, then put some right down here on the pad. Now here's the messy part. I'm going to take my finger, just like tilt that so the camera can see. Just like putting butter on toast or frosting on a cake. I'm going to just take and spread that on, work it into the foam, and that way 100% of this surface of this pad is going to be loaded with the abrasives in this product so it can instantly go to work and start removing defects. So this is called priming the pad. Now you really only need to do this when you're starting out with a fresh pad because it's dry and clean. There's nothing in it. If you really want to get deep, after each section you could clean the pad really well and then reprime it. Most people in the world for the last 30 years, just once they get it primed like this, they just keep adding fresh product. But you do want to clean it, and I'm going to show you how to clean it. Hey, Rennie, could you bring that pad cleaner up over here? Just let's go ahead and wheel this out of the way and bring that up here because I'm going to show you about 3 different ways to clean a pad. Okay, now that we've got this pad primed, now we're going to put on here what we call the working product. So this is the product we're actually going to work with. I'm just going to put some small drops of product on here, just like that. Okay. Now as far as technique goes, a couple things. Don't ever turn the polisher on until that pad is in contact with the paint. Does anybody here know why? Splatter. Brad, tell us, you learned this the hard way. What happened? Splatter. It splatters everywhere, doesn't it? Yeah. So you never want to turn it on until it's in contact with the paint, and don't ever lift it off until the pad, you've turned the machine off and the pad is slowed down. Okay, so Now to start using this, what you want to do, and let me just do one more thing here. When you're using this type of tool, you don't want to tackle too big of an area at one time. So usually what I use as a reference guide is a microfiber towel. Now the average microfiber towel is 16 inches square. That's what this is. And this is about as big an area as you want to tackle. Now a lot of instructions say tackle a 2 foot by 2 foot area, but to me that's just a little bit too big. And there's a lot of reasons to not tackle that big of an area. So since this paint is actually in pretty good shape, there's very little swirls, just a little bit of a staining effect going on here, we can go ahead and tackle a larger section because we're not trying to remove a lot of paint off a brand new finish like this. So here's how this would work. First thing you want to do, put the tool down and put the pad down so it's in contact with the paint. If you're new to this, you can turn the speed down, and all you really want to do at this moment is spread the product out to the area you're going to work. After you get the product spread out, then you can bump the speed back up and then start making what we call section passes. Now, if we tackle this one section here, every time I go over this one time, that's one pass. If I go over it a second time, that's 2 section passes. 3 times, 3 section passes. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so in most cases, if you got a car that's swirled out, you're going to have to make 6 to 8 section passes to remove the swirls before you turn that polisher off. So hey guys, can I get y'all to help me? Let's count these out, okay? So everybody in the internet world can see how many times I go over this. So I'm going to start out spreading my product out, bump my speed up, and then I'll start making my section passes. Okay, my product is now spread out. Now I'll start my section passes. I'm going to bump my speed up to the 6. And notice just real quick, I put a black mark on the backing plate. And that's to help me see if that pad is rotating. Anytime you're trying to remove defects, you want to see that pad rotating. It doesn't have to rotate really fast, but you do want to see it rotating. You don't want to just see it sitting still and just vibrating against the paint. Okay, so let's do 6 section passes. Come down 50%, go back. Now I'm going to come right up to this body line. Drop down. Okay, I've covered that area once. Now I'm going to change direction. Again, just cover my passes by 50%. How many was that? Okay, go back to my first direction. Again, cover it by 50%. How many was that? 3? Good to see you guys are paying attention. That's 4. Change directions again. Here's my last one. That's 6. Turn that tool off. Don't lift it off until it stops spinning, or again, you will throw splatter everywhere. Okay, so that's how you'd use that tool to remove swirls and scratches. Can I get somebody to hand me one of those gold microfiber towels over there? Actually, let's put a stack of them on the roll around so they're a little bit closer. Okay, now here's something. Anytime you're working with compounds or polishes, unlike a wax or a paint sealant, you don't need to let them dry. In fact, what you want to do is get down there and wipe them off immediately while they're still fluid or still wet, because it's the carrying agents, the lubricating oils are going to actually help lubricate the surface to help you to wipe the product off without inflicting scratches at the same time. And when you wipe off, again, look, I've got my towel folded 4 ways, okay? I'm going to come down here, and a mistake a lot of guys make is they take a huge wipe. And what happens is you start making a wipe, your towel stays there, your hand flies off, you don't get nothing done. Instead, just take little swipes. And if you take little swipes like this, anything is easy to wipe off. Okay, so that's how you use that tool. Now just for fun, feel the difference there. See if you can feel a difference in smoothness of the paint. I can already see the gloss is higher.
Oh, man,
yeah.
glosses.
You can feel where it stops too.
Okay, so that's how you use the DA polisher. Just real quickly, what I also want to show you is, let me put a little drop of product on here. One of the things you don't want to do, this would be bad technique. And this is what I see a lot of new guys do. They turn this on, they hear that motor spinning fast, they match their arm speed to the motor speed, and they get this thing just flying across the surface like this. That's bad technique. You want to have what they call a slow arm speed, okay? Just like that. And regardless of the tool, the whole reason for that is you're giving the combination of the aggressiveness of the foam, the action of the tool, the abrasive itself, and then time and pressure to affect the paint. When I say affect the paint, I mean remove small particles of it so you can level it, remove the defects, get that show car finish you're looking for. So that's how you use that tool. Now when we get going, I want you to start out with the DA polisher. Okay, who else is new to machine polishing that wants to try one of these tools? Brett, which one do you want to try?
Whatever you tell me to.
Okay, I'll tell you what. If someone here wanted to try out the Flex 3401, is that you, Larry? Let Brett do it. Okay, so this is a Flex 3401, and this, like the DA polisher, let me just hold both these up. These are both DA, so that means dual action, 2 actions. Can I get you to hold this? Okay, here's the primary difference. This is not a mechanical drive tool. It has what's called a free-floating spindle assembly, a bearing. Now, that's a whole lot of words to mean that I can just spin that with my finger like that, okay? I can also do this. I can hold that in my hand while it's on, okay? This is very safe to use. It's not going to inflict swirls. It's not going to burn the paint, but it's also usually going to take you a little longer to buff out the car because you can stop the pad from rotating, so anytime it's not rotating, you wouldn't be removing defects. This is a little bit different. What I want you to do is grab that and turn it with your hand.
Tough.
It's a little harder, huh? Okay, because this has a gear assembly in here. This is what's called a forced rotation direct drive tool. So this is going to rotate and oscillate at the same time, but it's direct drive, so you got a lot more power. If you're detailing cars for money, what that really means is you can knock that car out a lot faster. And sometimes time is money. Now, this is variable speed, and Flex has conveniently put the variable speed dial right here where you would hold it and you can put your thumb. And what's kind of cool about this is you can start out at a low speed, spread your product out so you don't splatter it everywhere, and then quickly just bump the speed up to a higher speed for doing correction work. Now this I've already outfitted with the 4-inch backing plate. This is a new adapter system put out by Lake Country. And what that enables me to do is put this new 5-inch pad by Lake Country on there, and the Velcro and the backing plate Velcro are actually the same size. So all you want to do is just come down here and line that up as good as you can. Ready to go to work. Now since this is a brand new pad, guess what we want to do?
Okay.
Prime it, okay? Now this is a white polishing pad, so you're not going to be able to see this on the pad itself. But again, just take your finger and spread this stuff on there. Push that in, and again, that way 100% of the pad is going to go to work for you. You have abrasives evenly distributed throughout the entire face of the pad, and you're going to get maximum abrading action out of your product and your pad. Okay. So then this will be our working product. We'll just put a couple small drops on here. Okay, now you've used the DA before, right? Yeah. Okay, so this is kind of different. What's different about this tool is because it has that direct drive function. Can someone plug me into the cord there real quick? That way we don't yank that off the wall. This actually has what I always call a self-teaching characteristic to it. And by that, what I mean is you want to hold this pad flat to the surface at all times. If you tilt this, you're not holding it straight at any angle, you're going to feel this try to walk in a direction opposite of the way you're holding it. And that's called the walking effect. And it's not a bad thing, it's just going to teach you to hold the pad flat. So again, cord over shoulder. And I'm going to put this down on the 2 setting to spread my product out. I'm going to bump over here to this side of the fender now, but I'm going to do the same basic thing. Okay, I've spread my product out, Now I'm going to bump this up. We're just going to go to the 4 set. I'll go to the 5 here because again, there's not a lot of swirls in the paint. But I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start putting the corner. I'm going to go this direction. Then I'm going to go up and down, side to side, and make 4 to 5 section passes. And by then, in most cases, those swirls will be gone. I'm going to only do half of these, and I'm going to turn over and let you do it, okay?
Sounds good.
So it's going to look like this. Now, as we come over here to grab the side of this fender, you can either knock this out by itself, or you can roll the body of the tool, okay, to match that curve. I'd usually, since there's a body line right here, a seam where the fender meets the hood, I'd go ahead and knock this out in one section. Just like that. Your turn.
Very simple.
Don't turn on so it's in contact with the paint.
Make a mistake once.
Now, just for fun, go and leave it on, and then tilt it a little bit and see if you can feel that walking effect. Feel it try to pull you around.
Yeah.
That's an indicator to hold the pad flat. Go ahead, make a couple more passes, and we'll call this side done. And roll the tool. There you go. Okay, and then just as what we call a good best practice, there's a raised body line here, and there's an edge here. Normally you don't want to take and run the buffer over, or at least stay on them edges, because usually gravity tends to make paint flow. It'll be thin in these areas. That's a very safe tool, but it's just a good practice to not sit there and hammer on high points or edges. Okay, let's wipe that off. Okay, the next tool I have here is going to be the Cyclo. Larry, you want to try out the Cyclo? Okay, can someone get that plugged into the cord for me? We're going to go through this and then the rotary, and then I want everybody to pick the tool that they want to try out the most, and let's tackle this car and get this thing polished out. By the way, Louis, this thing looked good when it came in, but how's that looking right there just after the first polishing step?
Night and day.
It looks appropriate for my wife.
Okay. Okay, so
You mean the boss?
okay, we're going to step over here and work on this side here, Larry. And first thing we got to do is, again, these are Hydrotech polishing pads. I want to set that down over there. I'm just going to take and prime these pads. And I want to show you something really unique about the Cyclo. Now, a second ago, I showed you the direct drive action of the Flex and the free spinning action of the Porter Cable 7424 XP. The Cyclo actually uses both those actions. And I'll show you that in 1 second. So you have a lot of power, but at the same time, you have a lot of safety. Another cool thing about this tool is it's really well balanced. It was introduced to the market in like 1951 or 1952, so it's been around a long time. I always call it the Buck Rogers polisher because, I don't know, it just kind of reminds me of that. It's kind of Art Deco looking, but it's really well balanced, okay? This is the Mark V Pro model. What that means is this variable speed. There's a variable speed dial down here to let you dial down to a very slow speed. That's the 1 setting, or bump it all the way up to the 6 setting, which I think is 3,000 OPMs, and that's the setting you'd be at to remove swirls. I'm going to kick this down to about the 3 to spread the product out, but here's that action I was telling you about. Right here, this is free spinning. Okay, there's no tension on that. That pad will just rotate as simple as I run my finger over that. But if I grab this, there's a mechanical action right here where they both spin. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds there. Now, let's go ahead and add a little bit of working product to the face of the pads. This tool here takes just a little bit more technique to use, and the reason why is because you've got this center section here that doesn't get quite as much as attention as the rest of the area where this tool runs. And so what that means is when you're polishing, what you want to do is you're okay when you're going back and forth this way, but when you're running the tool back and forth this way, just turn it a little bit. Otherwise, you'll have this section down the middle that doesn't quite get as much of attention as the rest of the area the pad's covering. So again, don't turn it on until it's in contact with the paint. Turn it on. You can just use that to low speed to spread the product out, just like we did with the other tools. Okay, now that I've got that spread out, I'm going to bump this speed up, and you could do this on the fly if you want to, and then again, don't lift it off until the pad stops spinning, and that's how you use that tool. So let's go ahead and see your style there, Larry.
Okay.
Look at that good man. He's got the cord over his shoulder. Go ahead and throw it over this side since the cord's on this, is plugged in on this side. It's easy to control, isn't it? That Italian sheet metal, a little bit on the thin side. If you push too hard, you can actually feel it cave down. So you don't want to push too hard. That is perfect. That looks good. About the only thing you want to make sure that you do is, again, don't get it moving too fast for your correction step, okay? I'm going to give the pad, aggressiveness of the pad, this is a polishing pad, your abrasive, the action of the tool, pressure, and then time as it moves over that surface to gently abrade that surface and create that show car finish we're all looking for. Okay, who here would like to try the rotary buffer? I need a volunteer? Brad? Okay, so Brad from the forum is going to give this a try. When do you guys want to go ahead and wipe that off for me real quick? Tim, can I get you to plug this in too? Yeah. Just like you did before, I appreciate that. Okay, now, when you're using a rotary buffer, you can get all different types of pad sizes. I've set this up for what I call surgical buffing. You can put any size backing plate and pad on here. But one of the things I noticed about this is it's got these really long A-pillars. And I'm going to walk over there. I'm going to show you how well this 3-inch pad fits this A-pillar here. Okay, this is called the A-pillar. It's this long panel that runs between the windshield and the side window. It's also the support for the actual windshield itself. And this is just a little bit wider than 3 inches, and this 3-inch pad is going to work perfect for running up and down this. Now, any larger pad is going to be on an edge, so that's bad technique. So I like to use this for what I call surgical buffing. Also, it's really good for getting into tight areas like right down here, okay? And I've got an extension on here. This is actually technically called an adapter. And what this does is it enables you to put on what they call a double-sided wool pad onto a rotary buffer without having the thread stick through on the other side. So that's what this is for. It's called an adapter. I use it as an extension. I also have what's called a flexible backing plate on here. And this flex here really helps you to keep the pad flat to the surface. So not only do you have a pad that'll flex, you got a backing plate that'll flex. And anytime you put these on, it's really important with the rotary to try to line that up as concentric or centered as you can get it. Just like that. Okay, now one of the cool things about this tool right here, and let's just come up here and work on this little lip between the seam here where the hood closes, and then we got the fascia up here. And if you look how nice that's going to fit inside there. Perfect. Okay, now the other pads, we primed them first, right? With the rotary buffer, what you do is you pick your bead up using the 10 at 10 technique. So you want to put a strip of product down, and then you want to take and you want to look at this like it's a clock, okay? So right here would be midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and so on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to lay this down. I'm going to tilt this about 10 degrees. And if this is midnight, this would be 11 o'clock. About right here is 10 o'clock. I'm going to run that strip of product in at 10. As soon as I get past it, I'm going to lay it down flat. And what that does is, since this is turning clockwise, is this pulling that strip of product into itself. And then when you get past it, you lay it down flat. It traps all that product between the pad and the paint. You don't throw it everywhere. And that's what most guys do when they use a rotary buffer, is they throw some product on, and they smear it all around, turn it on, and throw product everywhere. So not only will this save you money because you don't waste product, it keeps you clean, and it makes you look like a pro.
Now, we're going to see how good you are.
Oh, okay.
Camera.
Okay. Another cool thing about this that makes it easy to look like a pro is this thing dials down. At the one setting is 600 RPM, and on the trigger is 400. I'll lock it into place at 600, and then just come down here and pick that up. Lay down flat. Now I can start working that in. I'm going to bring my speed up a little bit. Come down here and do a little polishing in the front. And that's how you use the rotary buffer. You ready to give it a try?
I'm ready.
Okay. So I'll let you hold it. Now this also comes with the handle. On these here, I like to pull the handle off, put the plastic screws that come in so there's no open holes there like on this side. And this is, if you feel that, that's a rubberized ergonomic grip there. So it makes it really easy to hold, but again, now you've got expert control over it. Okay. Come on out of there. Okay, there's a little strip of product. Go ahead, I'm going to guide your hand since this is the first time. Turn it on and lock it into position. And just since this is the first time, let's turn the speed down to 1. Okay, ready? Pick it up, now lay it down flat. Now spread it out over the area that you want to buff. And then for this type of polishing, you want to buff on that body line. Don't go up, so you're up too high. A lot of times guys are always fixated on the fact they think they got to use these things at high speed. That's not true. A lot of the polishes that are out there can actually be used effectively at a lower speed. Just like if I'm to work by hand, my hand isn't spinning or rotating at 1500 RPM. You know, it's going to be a fast motion, but it's nowhere near 1500 RPM. Well, if I can use that polish by hand, I could also use it by machine at a low RPM. And it's just it's a way of being just a little bit more careful. Now this is a urethane body part right here. And what happens when you use a urethane body, when you're buffing on a urethane body part, if you heat this up, you'll do what they call twist the paint. You'll get it so hot that it'll actually twist because it's basically melting. So you always want to be very careful if you're working on urethane body parts. Steel, a little bit more forgiving. Urethane, plus the urethane, because this is a flexible body panel, they put a flex agent in the paint. A lot of times, believe it or not, any of these types of components actually might be made and manufactured someplace else besides the assembly line. They're all painted the same color, but then they're all brought together and assembled at one place. But for that reason, you just want to be careful whenever you're working on these urethane body parts like that. They got a flex agent in them. Very good. What'd you think of that?
This is a lot easier than I expected after reading about it.
Yeah.
A lot easier.
You hear a lot of horror stories out there how dangerous or hard a rotary is to use. And I tell you, you put a 11-inch wool buffing pad on there, and yeah, it's going to take a little bit of arm and back and shoulder and leg muscles to control that in a really safe way to the car. But you get down to doing what I call surgical buffing, like, tell you what, just walk over and hit that mirror. Let's just put a little dab of product on there. Look how nice this is for getting into a small component like this. Okay, I'll let you pick up the bead on your own this time. Can you get that, Yancey? Good man. Cord over shoulder. 10 at 10. As soon as you go past it, lay down flat. Now just polish out the mirror. See how nice that is. And by using this extension, you see how we've got that backing plate further away from the body of the tool? And what that does is enables your eyes to see what the pad's doing because the body of the tool isn't blocking your view. So that's why I call it surgical buffing. Put that extension on there, get yourself a flexible backing plate with smaller pads. And a lot of cars have these small panels nowadays, and you can actually get in there and see what you're doing, get the swirls out, and not be buffing on a body line. Very good. Okay, you guys ready to start buffing? Let's do it. So you've all seen how the different tools work. If you're new to machine polishing, I would like to ask you to start out with one of the DA polishers, okay? If you're experienced, you can go ahead and jump up to the Flex, the Cyclo, or the Rotary. What do you want?
I'll take the Flex.
Okay. Oh, well, let's do that. And after we get buffing for a little bit, I want to come back over here and show people how to clean their pads a little bit. I got a pad washer all set up. I got a pad conditioning brush. Okay, there's extension cords spread around here. And tell you what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to go get another bottle of the V36 so we can share another bottle. Rennie, you know where the tools are at. And again, also just as a reminder, after you get done buffing a section, go ahead and take a microfiber towel and wipe that product off. And this is an area when we do these project guys that we all got to work together, okay? So we make sure 100% of each panel gets completely buffed out because we like Louis, okay?
Yeah, don't get in trouble when you're going.
Oh, we're using all of the Hydrotech polishing pads. Yeah, you can do that. I have some extras out here. Will that fit on there? If not, I've got some set up for 4-inch or for the Hydrotech pads. If you want to do that.
Which one would I use?
That's a 4-inch. So grab that, and I'll grab you a pad. Remember, don't lift it off while the pad's rotating. Ready? Whoa. This is Mike. I'm out here in the Autogeek warehouse with a swirl finder light because everybody's gone home. And I just came out here to get another bottle of the polish. Let's see, V34, V36. Here we go. Should have done this earlier. There we go, V36, optical grade cutting polish. But everybody's gone home, so the warehouse is completely dark, so I'm using a Brinkmann swirl finder light to see my way around the warehouse. And you can probably hear it's getting noisy. That's because I'm walking back out here to the studio, and we're back. Okay, hey guys, I got another bottle of the polish right here. Tim, which tool do you want to use? The Meguiar's or the Griots? Okay. The adjustable dials in the back, an on and off switch right there on the side.
Am I using this?
Yep, that's the right polish.
Did anybody do the facer yet? Or you want me to wait? On what? Oh, do the facer.
How we doing down here, Forrest?
Oh, really great.
Yeah. Now, in the past, whenever you've done any of this type of work, it has always been by hand.
Always by hand.
So, how do you like working by machine so far?
It's a lot faster.
A lot faster. You know what else? You also get better results faster.
Yeah.
Anytime you're working by hand, you got basically 4 pressure points. When you work by machine, you got the entire face of that pad, and the big difference is you get tired, the machine never gets tired. Brad, I see you really gravitated towards that PE14. It's pretty sweet, huh?
I like it a lot.
And you can get different size pads for it. In fact, one of the pads that works really good with that is the cyclo pads, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, they're real thin and flat. They work really good on the PE14. Okay, I think we need one more extension cord here. Okay, does everybody got a power cord?
Do I need one taping?
No. You can get by without one for taping. Okay, so Tim, don't lift it off till it stops spinning, okay? Now, once you got your parts spread out, remember you want to bump that speed up. Now on this tool here, you can actually just go to about the 5 and I think you'll feel the power. But as long as you can see this pad rotating by that black mark, you're doing good. When I was over there, I was listening, it didn't sound like it was that powerful there. Remember to tilt it. There you go.
Reload every once in a while? Or
Yes, after you buff a section, then you want to go ahead and add some fresh product. Here, let me get your microfiber.
You need to get a washcloth so I can clean
Yeah.
the pad once in a while.
Tell you what, let me show that real quick, how to clean your pad.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't make all my passes. I gotta make my 6 passes.
Okay, go ahead and finish your passes. Okay. And one of the things I've done is I've got a 4-inch pad and I've fixed that onto a 3.5-inch backing plate on this Meguiar's G110. That's just to also get down here and work on these smaller panels. How are we doing there? Can I jump in here and
Yes, sir.
do a little polishing?
You should let us get on the ground.
Oh, I don't mind doing the low parts.
You're the teacher.
Yeah,
You're
what-
the master. We're
Yeah.
the grasshoppers.
Well, one of the things that I want to show something. Another good practice whenever you're machine buffing out a car is to be looking across from the panel that you're working on. Now, if you've got a hydraulic lift and you can lift the car up, hey, that's great. If you don't, you got to lower yourself down. Don't get into the practice of trying to stand up and then bend over to buff out the lower panels. Just go ahead and get down where you can look exactly across from the panel you're working on. I'm ready to go. Okay, hey, while I'm here, any questions on anything?
Just gotta remember to put it down on the paint before you start it.
Okay, you same thing?
Oh,
Any questions?
Well, actually, on the rotary, I
Yes.
found that, you know, it was still picking up and it was still slinging even though it was there. Is it possible to get too much where you're on the edges where it slings it off?
Yeah, and one of the things is when you're using a little pad like that, you want to cut down on the amount of product you're using. Yeah, and it's real easy to lay down a fairly big strip of product that would be big enough for a full-size pad. So it's just something you got to make a habit when you switch down to the smaller pads. Sometime in the future, I'm going to have some other cars down here where we're going to be using the full-size pads on the rotary buffer. So maybe you get a chance.
To get down to detail test too.
There you go.
Try to get down and check everything out.
Okay. But yeah, the key thing with this is just don't turn it on until it's in contact with paint. Don't lift it off. And that's why a lot of times hold it up in the air. Just like this. When I see guys start to lift it, I'll go boom, and I'll stick that sucker right down there like that. I think they knocked that out with the rotary already. How are we doing back here, Rennie? Right on. Kind of a cool little car, huh? Oh, that feels good. Looks good, feels good.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. You got any questions at all, Larry?
I'm just going to try the D8 again.
I've got a 4-inch up here if you want to play with that at all. The benefits of the 4-inch is like, and this is kind of a tricky area to buff out because there is no like solid square area. You just got to memorize or remember the areas you buffed and just start knocking all that. Now, I've went to about right here to right here, so if you want to tackle that side, you're welcome to. Tell you what, let's put some, let me show you how to clean a pad on the fly real quick. Okay, now, let's look at the camera here. Now, as you're buffing out a car, remember we started out with fresh product?
Correct.
Okay, that product gets used up. Those abrasives break down, you want to get them off there. And anytime you're abrading the paint, you're also going to have some paint coming off. So you got two things building up on the face of your pad. Now here's a real quick way to clean your pad. Take a terry cloth towel, and this is clean. I just washed it and dried it. Stick it right on here and turn this on. And then all I'm doing is I'm just moving that pad, and back here I'm just kind of pushing that pad into it, the towel into the pad, running my fingers across like that. Just anything I can do to kind of agitate that pad. Okay, there's a little spent product. Yeah. Look, your pad's clean and ready to go. So that's called cleaning your pad on the fly. Now another thing you can do is you can take a conditioning brush like this, and what I'm doing is I'm holding this with my fingers back here. You don't turn it on, you just hold it, run that brush across it, spin it, run that across there, and you can get the majority of all that excess product off there, and that pad's ready to go back to work. One other way you can do this is with what's called a pad washer. And I'm going to show us how to use this when we get one of the other bigger pads and a bigger tool. Plus this is already clean, so. Okay. So now you're ready for some fresh product. Who's got the polish? Oh, okay. You got it? Looks good. When it's clear like this, you can really see the flake, you know? And when this thing hits the sun, ooh, it'll blind you. Yancey, have we had a winner yet?
No, he's a vet.
Oh, yeah?
As soon as I did it, and they're like, fired off.
Cool.
Now I'm giving away a copy of your book, if they can find it again.
My side's shinier than yours, buddy. Sorry. You have to work hard.
Hey, Tim, my neighbor hasn't used that yet. For his house. He said it's not the problem. Well, I get somebody else I can call too.
Hey, while there's no machine polishing going on, has anybody got any questions? Is everybody real comfortable with the tool they're using?
Love it.
Okay, Tim, how do you like machine polishing?
It's fabulous.
And you know what? It's safe if you use the right tools, right? Okay.
Back in the day, we didn't have the sponge,
Yeah, foam pads? Yeah.
pad.
Okay, and when I was talking to him, one of the things I noticed is I don't hear the speed, so
I just turned it down when
it just, okay, spreading your product out, good technique. There you go, buddy.
All right, share the goose. Share the goose.
Here you go. It's a V36. Were you using this?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's real quickly, let's show you how to clean a pad on the fly. Okay, because this is important. Okay, what I like to do is always keep a nice collection. These are hand towels, okay? You got a washcloth, a bath towel, a hand towel. And because it's not too big, they're just gonna be all over the floor and stuff. But what you're really doing here is you're taking this nap. See, that's the cotton loop there?
Yep.
And it's stout, it's not, pull this up. See how this is soft?
Yeah.
So we use this to get waxes and polishes off the paint without scratching the paint. But we actually want this stout nap here to help get this excess product off here. So the way you use this, you just take and put this into the pad, and then I'm just going to take, and behind the scenes, I'm rubbing my hand over the towel, pushing that into the pad. Turn that off, and the majority of all that excess product is now gone, so it's clean and ready to go back to work. And the reason that's important is because as you're buffing, you got paint building up here and spent or used up product. So there you go. At this point, I wouldn't. I'd just go ahead and put your working product on, because feel that pad, it's soft. There's still abrasives in there. There probably, a lot of them might be, if this is a diminishing, they'd be worn out. But you're gonna be adding the working product, and that's the stuff you're gonna be working with. You're just not coming down now with the dry pad.
Perfect.
Yeah, and after we get another one done, I'll show you how to use the pad washer itself. How do you like that, Larry?
A little bit more difficult when you're down into different angles to keep your pad turning.
That's right, and that's why it's a good idea to mark your pad and then try to hold it flat to the surface, and you can always bump your speed up a little higher too. As long as the pad's rotating, that's good. And one thing to notice about this Meguiar's unit is when you turn it on, it has a slow start to it.
Yeah.
So you don't have it just zinging up the speed really fast. So it gives you kind of a chance to break in and get it moving. Just like that. Man, that looks good.
$500 rip-off. Oh man,
I really like that. Like I said, I was the one that read the horror stories of the rotary.
Yeah.
It's like I'm gonna worry I'm gonna burn through the paint or I'm gonna eat something up, and I always kind of walk away. That was easier.
You know what else is really good for that buffer there is, let's see.
I got the XP, it's the one that I use. Now there's a 3-inch back there.
Yeah, now look at, well, we got the 2 7/8 on there, but this is I think this is a 5-inch. But check this out. You throw this on that PE14, and this is really easy to buff with because, again, it's not a huge old pad. The bigger the pad, the more leverage the pad has over you.
Right.
The smaller the pad, the more leverage you have over the buffer. But again, this is also a flexible buffing pad, so it helps you to keep the pad flat to the surface. So, but yeah, P14.
Like, can you request to charge a different account on my credit card so I don't have to explain all this to my wife?
Hey,
And want to get it for me for Christmas?
yeah, there you go. Yeah, some guy came up on the forum and blamed me for all the money he spent. Well, Autogeek.net.
Unfortunately, it is.
Hey, when you're not donating it for your family,
Always gotta try this and everyone, buys it up. I'm trying to get the tried and true stuff. Right?
Now, have you tried the Flex over here that Force is using?
I tried it when they came out to help me with my car. They had that one, and I love that 301.
Before you leave, make sure you try it with that 5-inch pad.
Yeah.
It really makes using that tool easy.
Sure, I will.
And again, look at all the small, thin panels on a car like this. How are we doing, Rennie?
Bud, how are you?
We're doing good. I think we're actually getting to the point. I got to knock out this down here. I'm going to get that. And can you walk around and maybe see where we're at with the rest of these panels? I think we're down to moving to the next step. The center strip hasn't been done. I need the polish though. What's that now?
I'm just gonna take that up real quick.
Okay, I'll get you some tape. There you go. Need some product?
Yeah, a little bit here.
Let's clean that pad first. See that gunk on there?
Yep.
Here you go. I actually get these towels at the gym I work out in. They're sweat towels.
Oh, that's a good one.
After I use them a few times, I wash them, bring them down here, and use them for cleaning pads.
Now, do you have to let it rotate, or you just let it?
You know, all you really want to do is you just want to be shoving that towel into there any way you can, basically, and the nap's going to actually kind of dig in and pull that crud off. One of the most common things I see on the forum is guys asking how to clean your pad on the fly, and it's not as complicated as people think. The big picture is just a way to get most, not all, but most of the product off the face of the pad and get back to work. You know, it already takes a long time to buff out a car. You don't want a process that's going to take a half hour to clean one pad.
Like I say, I always get in trouble. My wife keeps saying, "You always spend all your time out in the garage."
Well, just make sure you keep your wife's car shiny.
I do my best.
Okay, I'm going to knock out this side of the fascia right here. I'll let you get that center section. Okay. What do you see up there?
A little nicker or something, maybe.
Yeah, a little defect right there.
Anything to do?
You know what? We're getting ready to switch over to the polishing step. Actually, we're going to be using the black light next. I did this side right here, and we got this with the rotary. How far did you come over this way?
This half.
Okay, then this is done. It's all done. You got the center? That looks good. Okay, hey guys, I think we've knocked out most of the body panels, so let's go ahead and let's get ready to do the next step. So finish up the panel you're on, and then let's get all the tools back over here. We're going to switch over to nothing but DA polishers for the next step. We'll take and put those in the microfiber bin because I wash those at the end of the day. Okay, so let's bring all the tools over. We want to switch over to the blue polishing pads. You want to go ahead and knock that out then, Rennie? Okay. Okay, we're going to switch over to these blue pads. Now these are soft, open cell. I've got CCS here for the 4-inch. I got 5-inch. So we're gonna just switch over to nothing but the Griots, the Maguires, or the Porter cables. And here's a little tip: whenever you wind these up, make your first wrap around the head, okay? Then go around the body. What's nice about the flex cords is they're actual real rubber, so they don't lock in that twist that you put into them. And then just get a couple wraps around put the tail in there. See, like that?
Have you showed how to use that yet?
I will in a second. Randy's already got it going. Randy, did you use the pad cleaner? Did you use the XMT pad cleaner on there? The spray? The reason I asked is because I didn't put any pad cleaner in the water. Yeah, so there's two ways to use this. Since Randy's here, let me just cover this real quick. This is a Grit Guard Universal Pad Washer. And there's two ways you can use this. Now you can put a pad cleaner in the water itself, or you can use a dedicated pad cleaner and spray it right onto the pad itself. Either way, but you got to use a pad cleaner on one or the other. And then when you go to put this in here, how this thing works is there's these spring-loaded pumps in here. Now watch this. You don't just put it in there and turn it on. You put it in and you pump your polisher up and down, and you see the water squirting up. What that does is that injects the water into the pad to rinse and flush all the built-up residue off the pad itself. And of course, as it's spinning against the grit guard, that acts like a squeegee to pull that product off the face of the foam pad. So that's how that works. But I know that most of the time when you're down here, I've already put the chemical in, and this time I thought I'd mix it up and just go with the dedicated pad cleaner. So go ahead.
Thanks, buddy.
Yep. There, see how it kind of pumps it up and down? And then lift it up and run it at speed. Let centrifugal force sling out the excess water. And then a lot of times what I do is I keep a clean, dry towel and just kind of pat any water off that's excess so you can just have just pure product on there when you go back to polish.
Mike, do they have a typical shelf life?
A pad?
Yeah.
Depends on how you use it, you know. Basically, everybody wants to get as much life as they can out of their pad.
But at some point it wears.
At some point, you're going to wear it out. You know, your cutting and your correction pads are going to wear out a lot faster than, say, your waxing pads, because you're just going to be abusing them a lot more. Okay. Yeah, that's the V36. Okay, so everybody, let's put the rotary and the 34 one back on the shelf. Then we're going to switch over to the DA polishers, and these are an open cell waxing or finishing pad. And we're going to go ahead and apply the black light, which is a glaze. We're going to glaze this paint and really bring out the optical clarity, the clear coat, so we can really see that metal flake and the pearl pop. Then we're going to put the wax on.
Sure we can't put these in our back pocket?
Yes, I'm sure you can. Okay. I am fortunate enough to be able to say that in the 3 years that I've been here at Autogeek, I actually don't know of any tools that have just walked off on their own. This place actually attracts a really high caliber of person here. Now, the name of this product is actually called the Blacklight Hybrid Radiant Finish. Okay, and this is a finishing glaze. And you can apply this by hand, or like we're going to do, we're going to apply this by machine. Now, at this point right now, that finish is absolutely flawless. And so this is just going to be an extra step to amp up the gloss before we put the wax on. We're going to switch over to a softer pad. We're going to turn the speed down on our polishers. We don't really need so much the speed because we're just going to be applying this to amp up the gloss. Okay, I need some guys over here working. So let's switch over. I got this Griot's is ready to go. That one's ready to go. These here can get put away. You can put a blue pad on that one. So we're switching over to just the DA style polishers like that. Exactly, yeah. And guys, this will go pretty fast. You only need to make a few passes over the finish, and then we'll go ahead and let it dry for a few seconds and we'll wipe it off. You can use that one. I'll get this one set up and ready to go. go. This one looks like it's plugged in.
Louie, do some work for the wife here, will you? Come here. Come on.
Same applying procedure?
Yep. Go ahead and prime your pad, put a little bit of working product on it. And again, for this step here, basically make about 4 section passes. And then this product, technically you want to let it dry till it dries to a haze. In this room, that'll be about 10 minutes, and we'll wipe it off and get right to the wax.
Sure. Okay.
It does have a nice smell to it, doesn't it?
Like blueberry, yes.
And Mike, and it tastes good too.
Well, you know, one thing for sure, it's more fun to work with chemicals that smell good than chemicals that don't. So,
Can I put a smiley face on your...
that is way too much product. Way too much product. Tell you what,
Let me lend you some.
here, give him some over there. Yeah, usually you want to use like the size of a pea
Okay.
for your drops on there.
All right, Louie.
Yeah.
Too much?
Spread it out real good. You're good to go. That's what this class is for, is though it's a learning experience. Now you want to bump that up to about the 4 setting. At least the 4 in the 5. You do want to see just a little bit of rotation there.
Spreading. What speed setting do you want?
On this one here, 3 is usually pretty good on the grills. Spread it out. Beautiful. And guys, hey, you set that one on like the 5. Remember, we're not trying to remove defects now, we're just glazing the paint. Think of machine waxing. The defects are gone. Good eye, Rennie. Wham! Get down there! Whoa! Oh, sorry. Yeah, if you ever find yourself with that thing in the air, just shove it down on the paint real quick. It's better to have it on the paint than have it in the air.
Because it's too much on it?
Well, it's because it came up to speed and now it's just everywhere.
I know, but you kicked the cord off my neck
Oh.
and
Things like that happen. These cords get kind of messy. But what this is a good learning experience, because now you can see what's going to happen. And to tell you the truth, I've done this. Everybody does it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we got a problem. You know what would be perfect is we had the drop-down cords that come from the ceiling.
Right.
That'd keep these off the floors. We'll get this wiped off. It's not that big a deal.
No, I pulled the pad off of the car. Oh, I felt the cord being jerked away, and I.
Tim, go home.
Yeah, I will.
It's not a big deal. Everybody does it. In fact, the only way to learn is to make a mistake. Hopefully it's on your car, not a customer's car.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to do this for a living.
Yeah, but feel how nice. So this has been.
Out there and,
So this has been polished. Now it's been glazed. Feel that? Doesn't that feel nice?
man, that is just.
Look how clear the paint is. You can see the flake.
Can we do the?
Wax is next.
Oh, we got to wait to do the plastic bag thing. You see.
Oh yeah,
You're not going to see anything on.
You're not going to feel nothing now. But yeah, go ahead and try. I rolled it back over there.
So how long do you wait for this?
This is supposed to dry until it dries to a haze. They recommend 10 to 15 minutes. One of the things we're doing is we're getting to the end of this video broadcast, so we need to push things forward just a little bit. Hey guys, as soon as we coat every square inch with a couple of passes, it's time to get to the wax, okay? How's that feel?
Night and day.
Yeah, it feels pretty nice, huh? And what's nice about this is, I didn't really cover this in the video at the beginning, but we would all agree that a nice looking car finish is a glossy looking finish, correct? You go to a car show all the time. The cars that stand out to you just look like the paint is wet, like it came out of the paint booth. Okay, gloss comes from smoothness. If you've got contaminants, those little bumps built up on here, that's like a surface texture. It diminishes gloss. You get the claying step done, you do a little polishing, you maximize the smoothness, you maximize the gloss. And then
It's lacking in imperfection.
any imperfections. And now it's perfectly prepared for a coat of wax. Okay, after we get this done, we want to go ahead and de-tape it. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull start taking the tape off before we put the wax on. All you.
Fascia get done?
I don't think it got glazed if you want to get down there and get it real quick. I was just wondering that myself and I started thinking about it.
Who's got the blueberry goo?
Right here, I'll get it. You know what works best for that though is the 4-inch pad. Yeah, so to tell you what, hey, Jeff. Look. Or just, yeah, you want, yeah. Yeah, trade out polishers. I got it up here.
While he has the 4-inch.
Nice work, Rennie. Man, that looks really clear and glossy.
Yeah, I will.
see Ivan in the reflection, in fact. White's hard to get a reflection out of. That's actually looks pretty clear.
Thank you guys, but I'll probably get lucky tonight.
Okay, are we done with this polisher here? Okay, let's switch these over for waxing then. As soon as you're done with a DA polisher with a 5.5 inch pad, we want to switch it over to the crimson pad. I'm gonna go grab a pad for this so we can use for waxing. Yeah, let's see. Hey Louie, when you get a chance, you want to pop the hood and we'll pull the towel off too? When you get a chance, pop the hood and we'll pull the cover up towel off. Okay, we're switching over to crimson pads. I need a couple guys with 3.5 inch backing plates.
In the dirty also?
Yeah, throw that in the dirty towel bin. Okay. So let's go ahead and get these set up. Now,
Were you going to take that?
No, go ahead. I got this.
yeah, try to get the pads as centered as you can. It's not as vital like it is with the rotary, but you do want to get them centered. Here you go. Okay, we got another DA polisher out there. Let's bring that one over. Let's get a 5-inch pad on it.
Louis, get over here, buddy.
Okay, we're going to use some Pete's 53 on this. And we're going to apply this by machine. So now the way we're going to do this is I've already taken and knocked this out of the container. Okay, look, I'm holding a microfiber glove to keep it clean and keep it from sliding out of my hand too. Let's get a little closer here. Now what I want is everybody one at a time. I want you to bring your pads over here, your buffers, and this is how you apply machine wax. Turn that over. Okay. Okay, just take and make a few little swipes right across there. Now a little bit of this will go a long ways. Okay.
Wow. And that's completely synthetic.
No, this has got carnauba and a blend of different polymers. A lot of different natural oils like banana oil, propolis oil, almond oil. Yeah, smells really good.
It's really healthy for the
taste
car.
No, you don't want to be eating this. Okay, I just want to make sure that the camera doesn't have my back the whole time. Okay.
Healthy oil for the car.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what I want everybody to do is put their polisher down to a lower speed. Okay. Again, at this point, we're not trying to remove swirls. All we want to do is spread out a nice even coat of wax. Okay. And when we get every inch of this car waxed, everybody put the polishers down. We're switching over to microfiber gloves, and then we're going to carefully wipe it off. Then we'll let Yancey come in and get his beauty shots. So go to town. This is the fun part. Now there's an interesting story about Pete's 53. Let me just share a little bit of that with you. Pete's 53 is named after Pete Martinez, who passed away at the age of 53 on February 13th, 2007. Pete is the founder of Pete's Wax Works in Norco, California. Pete shared his passion for the art of detailing with car and motorcycle enthusiasts for 20 plus years in the Inland Empire in Southern California. Pete's 53 is a blend of only the finest quality raw ingredients, including almond, coconut, banana, and propolis oil in a premium emulsion combined with 53% Brazilian #1 white carnauba wax by volume. Pete's 53 works great on all paints and is especially good for darker paints and metallic finishes like we have here with the Bianco, Perla, or the Pearl White finish on this Fiat 500 Sport. Now this is a whoa-whoa wax. What that means is you don't need to let it dry. So you simply apply it and then you can immediately wipe it off. In our case, we're going to go ahead and apply it to the entire car, put the polishers away, and then we'll spend a little bit of time just carefully wiping it off, donning the microfiber gloves, and getting out some really high quality microfiber towels.
Did you re-wax it?
If you haven't got the whole thing waxed, we need to re-wax it, you bet. Yeah, we want a thin, uniform coat over the entire finish. There you go, buddy. Anybody else need wax? A little bit of wax? Oh, okay. Okay. Hey, Larry wants a little bit here. There you go, Larry. Smell that.
Smells good.
Oh, it does.
You have a long
Long buffing cycle. Now, I tested out all these products that we used on this on that black panel right there behind you. Yeah, I took and I scratched it all up, and then I just polished it all out. It actually worked really good. Of course, then I chemically stripped it, got out the swirl finder light, inspected my results. If it works good on black paint, it'll work good on anything. That's right. Okay, tell you what, let's get the dirty towels out of here. I guess I got the only one.
Got more wax?
Sure do.
I'll dry.
You know, here's a tip you can use, a little technique to see if you still got wax. Take and put the face of that pad right down there on the window. You don't even gotta turn it on. Watch, like this. You see wax?
So because you're not seeing the white coloration, that doesn't mean
Yeah, this is like really thick right here.
Right.
So if you're working around the car and you just touch it down and you see a coat of wax, that means you're putting a coat of wax on the paint. It's hard to see because it's white.
Okay, so should I rebuff
I would
this?
gather that up on your pad and spread it out to the hood if that hasn't been waxed yet. I actually learned that on the forum. I don't remember who I learned it from because I have a tendency to try to give everybody credit for their ideas. But for the life of me, I don't remember where I read that.
This guy has a big one in Orlando there. Yeah, it was several years back. But,
And guys, remember, we pulled the tape off, but don't get the wax on the plastic trim.
I got all the way to here.
Take it off.
We're gonna do it all at once, all together as a group. So you got your glove?
I'm like copping a feel on the car. No, don't hit.
Okay, when we get the entire car wax, let's get the tools back up here.
take the pads off.
You were saying don't go near the plastic.
Yeah, don't get the wax on the plastic. We de-taped this, and that was so anytime there's a residue line, you kind of bring that in with the wax and you make the line go away. But at the same time, you got to be careful you don't get the wax on the trim.
Right,
So
what do you do for little areas?
use your finger, get down there. I call that perfectionist detailing.
Yeah.
And I'm more of the big picture guy. I stand back and I go, wow, that car looks good. If someone wants to get down and go, you know, there's a little swirl right here between the paint and that lip of the body panel. Yeah, it's staying there too. I'm a big picture guy. Mostly because doing perfectionist detailing that, it sounds good when you're talking about in the forum. Yeah, you got in the garage, yeah, it'd take you all day. So I always have this saying, it's called major on the majors and minor on the minors.
Hey, it took Matt like 2 days to do his father's 57 convertible and record it on the forum.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Hey, hey guys, I need everybody to put their microfiber glove on. There's enough for everybody to have at least one, if not two gloves. Okay, and then gather up around here. I'm going to show you.
Michael Jackson?
No jokes. We did that the last time, and then we don't do the jokes here. Okay, he was a very talented artist, and it's sad that he's no longer with us. Okay, take your microfiber towel. Now this is just a little tiny little tip here, but this is our rolled edge green, very plush microfiber towel. Now this has a very what they call a flat weave, and this has a very plush, large nap on this side. Now this large nap can be prone to gathering any kind of contaminant, and it'll stick in there. So what I like to do is, can I just get right by here, Jeff? Come over here, guys. Get a little closer. I want you to see this. When I fold these and put these in the cabinet, I fold them with the flat weave down, okay, and that protects the open nap like this. Now you want to take, before you wipe down a car that you just spent all day polishing, you want to spread this out and look to see if there's any contaminants. If you want, even feel it with your hand. Sometimes your hand will detect something that your eyes can't see, and if you see something, then pick it off, okay? Or if you feel something, and if you're in doubt at all, get a different microfiber towel, okay? Now fold this 4 ways. That's going to give you plenty of cushion to spread out the pressure of your hand. And at this point, underneath this coat of wax, we have a flawless finish. We don't want to go back in and start marring the paint using shoddy wiping techniques. So I call this breaking the wax open and then creeping out. Because right now, look at this. You guys take a look at this. You see that? You got a uniform coating over the entire hood, don't you? Okay, so what's our job?
To get it off.
Our job is to get it off without putting scratches in, okay? So take and fold this. I put my hand on here and I just give it a little light pressure and twist it. And right there, and it's hard to see on the swipe paint, but there's a shiny spot. Do you see that? Okay, so there's no wax here, but there's still wax everywhere. Now I turn my towel over, and I just come down here and just gently start taking little bites off, okay? And so I call this breaking the wax open and then creeping out. And when I see creeping out, I don't mean get weird on me. I mean move out from the shiny spot. And then just do that for each panel. Turn your towel often. And I think what you're going to see here is a finish that's just glowing when we're done. So let's get busy. Let's get this wax off. And then after you've used the two sides that you have, go ahead and flip to the other side and continue wiping off. If you feel your towel starting to get loaded up with wax, bring it up here and get a fresh towel. And that little technique about breaking the wax open and then creeping out, I have that in an article and in 2 different videos on the Autogeekonline.net detailing discussion forum. You can find them by finding any post I've made, and at the bottom of my post is what's called your signature line or your SIG file, and in it is my article list. Click on that and then do a little searching and you can find that article or that video. You know, Louis, since you guys keep this in the garage all the time, you really shouldn't have to wax this again for a while. We just saved you a lot of work, buddy.
Problem is, all the other Fiat 500 owners are going to be jealous at this shine. They're going to say Louis repainted his car.
Hey, Louis, if you ever take this to the dealership, make sure you tell them, do not wash the car. Okay? I was watching a commercial on TV for a local car dealership yesterday, talking about, hey, we got the best deals, we got the beautiful cars, we even got after the sale service. And then the camera shot went to a brush style car wash, and it showed a brand new car going through. And I about had a heart attack because that's where a lot of the swirls and scratches come from if you take your car back to the dealership and they do the courtesy wash for you. They run it through the Swirl-O-Matic and they'll take a finish like this. And you know what's funny is you can have one of these guys that work at the dealership, they could stand there and look at that car and go, man, this thing looks nice. They can tell it doesn't need to be washed and they'll run it through anyway, just as a matter of that's their protocol. Car comes in, change oil, run it through the car wash. They would swirl this paint out without even thinking about it. Has anybody here ever had that experience?
My relocation, I just had to polish my car because of their courtesy wash.
Their courtesy wash, yeah. What I used to do, and I had a brand new black Honda Pilot, was I would take and print out a sign off my printer that said, do not wash, in the largest font type I could get. I would stick it to the rear view mirror, I would tape one on the window, and I'd tell the service manager and give him a copy and say, do not wash the car. And I'd walk him over and I'd go, look at the paint. He goes, yes. Does it look good? I go, yes. It has no swirls. Do not wash it. And you have to tell it to them about 10 times or they'll wash it. And you know how long it takes to buff out a car to get all the swirls out? That's an all-day process if you're by yourself. So definitely, if you take a new car into the dealership where you bought it to get any kind of service done, make sure you stress to them to not wash the car. The best thing you can do is take ownership of the car wash process yourself, and that means you wash the car. You carefully wash it so you don't put scratches back into it. Hey, can I get it? Is everything wiped off? Yes. Okay, go ahead and put your microfiber gloves and these towels back into the bin over there. And then I want to get everybody over here real quick and just ask a few questions here. So, Brad, come on over. Louis, come on over. Out of all the things we did here, was there anything that surprised you or you found unique or some kind of tip that's going to help you?
Well, to be honest, the rotary was what I was more afraid of than anything, but it was so much easier than what I was originally expecting it to be, and being able to lay the line and get it in there rather than splatter
all the place.
It was really surprising how much easier that was than I originally anticipated.
We call that slop and glop.
Yeah.
That's what most detailers do, slop and glop. Okay, and another thing that probably just, that's a very, what we call a compact, lightweight rotary buffer. It weighs 5 pounds, okay? And a lot of times on the forum, guys are always comparing that to a full size. Well, there's a very distinct difference, and you don't want to just limit yourself to one tool. You get the lightweight compact for doing the surgical buffing, get the full-size rotary buffer for knocking out the major panels, especially if you're going to do this for a business. Okay, Larry, is there anything that you found interesting today about the buffing out this car today?
Slowing down, taking your time, letting the polish do the work for you.
There you go.
Not pushing it.
There you go. And again, one of the things I demonstrated at the very beginning was when you're running that polisher, this is called your arm speed. I heard someone the other day go call it their hand speed. It's not your hand speed, it's your arm speed, because it's how fast you're moving the polisher, but it's your arm that's moving the polisher. So the technical term is your arm speed. And a lot of guys, they get that thing just a buzzing, and you aren't doing anything. That pad is just gliding over the surface, nothing's happening. You wipe the wax off, the swirls will still be there. So you need to focus on moving the polisher slowly over the surface, at least for the correction step. And that's with any kind of tool too, okay? Well, thank you for that. Tim, what did you find out today?
All the different processes that actually go into detailing a car. And most importantly, taping off all your trim.
Yep.
And that is going to make a lot of difference for the labor afterwards.
That's right. Well, and plus the other thing is if you cream this out with any kind of polish or compound residue, you might not see it now, but in a couple days, as that residue starts to dry, it's going to turn white, and it impregnates down. It impacts into those little imperfections in the plastic, and you can't get it out for nothing. And it's always going to be there. It's always going to be unsightly. So you're better off just to spend a little bit of time, a little bit of money, tape off the trim before you start polishing.
But it amazes me, a brand new paint job, how much you can do to make it even better.
I agree.
Brand new paint job, and now look at it.
It glows. When this thing came in, it looked pretty good, and it did. And one of the hardest things there is to do is to take something that already looks good and make it look better. Now, it's real easy to take something that's completely wiped out, just completely oxidized, and do an extreme before and after on it, and everybody can see the difference. But to take something that's actually already in good shape and take it to a higher level, well, that's an art form. So,
Italy, take note what we do in America.
Hey, Forrest, come on up here. Tell us what you think. What do you think?
I noticed that even when I was using the buffer and polisher, real slow. It was throwing white cakey stuff everywhere. I noticed that, well, the pad was real dirty, and I had to clean it a few times actually, and then it stopped throwing.
Get that buildup off.
Yeah.
And that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. One of the biggest issues that people have when they get into machine polishing is they don't clean their pad often enough. Now, if you're in a production situation or even in your own car, the question is how often should you clean your pad? Well, in a perfect world, you would buff a section out and clean that pad. Okay, a lot of guys will buff a section out, move on, buff another section out, then clean their pad. But in a perfect world, you want to clean your pad often, and that's to get the spent residue and the removed paint off the face of that pad so you don't mix fresh product with it and then grind the whole mess into the car finish. So that's a good point. Louis, come on over here. Tell us what you think. You're the guy that's got to take this home to your lovely wife. How's it looking?
I think I'm going to be a very lucky man.
No, it came out looking good. And this,
beautiful.
if you feel it just real lightly, I mean, it's just as slick as can be. And I'm going to send you home with some of this Chemical Guys V7, which is a spray detailer that has a little polymer protection, amps up the gloss, creates a hydrophobic surface, and you can use that just to maintain. In fact, you could probably show your wife how to use it. Let her take over that part of the job.
She washes it.
Okay.
I taught her how to wash it from top down, bucket with a strainer. So.
Hey, does anybody else have anything they want to add? Do you guys have a good time tonight?
Absolutely.
Hey, well, I got to tell you, especially you guys that this was your first time for machine polishing, I was walking around watching, you did an awesome job. So a big round of applause for yourselves. And one thing I always like to do is I like to thank the person that brings us the car for trusting Autogeek, okay? Because when you have your toy, I mean, they got some daily drivers. This is kind of their toy. It's a fun little new car. And to turn this over to someone else and let them start touching the paint, you know, there's got to be a trust issue there. I have a lot of guys that ask me, hey, how do you get to work on the high dollar cars? How do you get to work on those classics? The first thing you got to do is you got to earn the customer's trust, and you got to let them know that you know what you're doing. Otherwise, you know, you could ruin a paint job, and even a small car like this would cost a lot of money to have a quality repaint done to it. So thanks for trusting Autogeek, Louie. Tell you what, we're going to step back and let Yancey come in here and get his beauty shots, and then we're going to wrap it up. Go get a big bag.
Maybe a car cover. Just get yourself a car cover now.
Okay, well, hey, thank you, Yancey. I know it can be kind of a challenge to capture the gloss and the beauty that we can see with our eyes on a white colored finish, but I think you did a good job. Hey, I'd like to thank everybody from around the world that tunes into our live broadcast. We have a lot of fun doing these down here. It's our pleasure to do our best to share some tips and techniques on how to use the different tools and different products. Each time we do one of these, we do try to showcase a different product. And if you have any questions, you can hang out on the forum, ask them in the thread, and we'll do our best to answer them, and also do the follow-up answers tomorrow when we all return to work. We're going to wrap things up here for the night. We're going to put together the products that we use here for the contest winner tonight on Autogeeks online discussion forum, and we're going to probably send Louie home with a few Chemical Guys products to keep the finish up that we've created here tonight. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again at our next live broadcast. Cool.